One macro function I did want to touch on though is protein. So a well-structured and consistent training program combined with a solid protein intake of about 1 gram to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, that can help you preserve muscle mass during a diet phase or a deficit phase, okay? So as you're getting leaner, you're losing weight at a percentage of body fat and muscle mass. If that rate is 50-50, then obviously your physique's not going to look a whole lot different, because if you lose 2 kilos, in theory it's a kilo of muscle or a kilo of body fat. That's not the idea that we're trying to have. So we want to get that ratio as close to 90-10 as we can, where we're losing a lot of body fat and not a lot of fat-free mass. So as I said, a well-structured training program which we provide you guys with, as well as a solid protein intake, can help preserve that muscle mass, which will improve your physique in the long run. A lot of people on that note will ask about supplements. For the most part, most supplements don't have a lot of impact on that process, to be honest. Leucine is a BCAA that does play a role in that, and if you're going to take anything, I guess that'd be the one. But it can be done with an effective diet and training program. Alrighty guys, so as part of your FSC memberships, you are entitled to some nutritional guidance with myself. So I'm going to touch a little bit on what that looks like and some common approaches that we use to get results from some of our most successful clients. So what we have at FSC, I usually help you guys figure out your TDEE, point you in the right direction. From there, you go and track your nutrition for a couple of weeks. I just want to see what you eat when you're not trying to go on a diet, okay, what your eating habits are like, and whether or not your weight is fluctuating a lot in a short period of time. From there, we have an Excel spreadsheet we use for check-ins, okay? We find that check-ins increase compliance, and compliance is everything with nutrition. So if you're in a calorie deficit, okay, for argument's sake, let's say you're having 1,000 calories a day as part of your deficit, which is 7,000 calories a week. If you go through 6 days of the week eating exactly as you were supposed to, and then on the 7th day you treat yourself a little bit and eat triple, well then that deficit over the course of the week has become somewhat ineffective. So we find the check-in system really helps with compliance and allows our clients over a long period of time to remain consistent, which is one of the big parts of nutrition. And on that note guys, when chatting with some of our most successful clients, one of the most, perhaps the biggest tip that I could offer is controlling variables. So our most consistent clients, our most successful clients, we're the same people by the way, they often will prioritize controlling the variables. So as I just mentioned with your diet over the course of a week, fluctuating diets tend to be ineffective. Okay? So controlling variables such as your daily activity, okay? Whether it's just as simple as tracking your steps every day and trying to hit a target, or something more complex that we come up with, that's a tip that's helped a lot of the guys that have done really well. Some common mistakes is what I just mentioned, okay? So it's the super fluctuating ones, treating yourself to too much of a cheat day, too many cheat days, but basically what it boils down to is a lack of compliance, okay? People that drift in and out tend to get worse results than people that stick to it day in, day out, and build healthier habits so it doesn't become as much of a chore as it feels like at the start. Alrighty guys, the best piece of advice I could give is just to get started, okay? It's not as daunting as it seems. We don't give out these super strict meal plans, we don't give out meal plans at all. All we do is help you guys to get the tools to control your own nutrition, okay? And some sort of direction on what you're supposed to be eating long term. That way you can build healthier habits, okay? And in the long run, not yo-yo with your weight. We're going to answer some questions that you guys have shot through, okay? The first question is, how do I deal with an unsupportive partner? It's an issue a lot of people face. My advice would be though, just plead with them to try and bear with you for 1 week, and then after a week you'll see that it actually isn't that difficult, okay? It's just around building healthier habits. We're not depriving you of the things you like, okay? We're just putting some structure into your nutrition. Alrighty, the other question we got about 10,000 times was, what about cheat meals? Cheat meals aren't a good or a bad thing, okay? If they help you with your compliance, if a cheat meal a week helps you long term to stay and not feel like you're having to diet, that's a good thing. The issue with cheat meals and cheat days, as I mentioned before, is if it throws off your whole deficit plan, okay? So we work together to come up with a plan on a deficit that will get you progressively losing weight at a safe rate, okay? If you're consistently missing your macros 1 day a week, but it's by a long shot, that can affect the rate of progression, okay? And can even set you backwards a little bit if you're having a massive cheat day, like I'm known to do on occasion, but that's neither here nor there. So the cheat days, it's something you guys can talk to us about. We can try and work them in, but we don't deprive you to the point where you should be looking forward the whole week to a cheat day. Your diet should be balanced enough where you're getting enough of everything that you like that you can stick to it long term. Alright guys, another difficult question we got a fair bit is, how long do I have to do this for? It's a difficult question, okay? If you're going into it with that attitude, you're kind of placing the first roadblock in the way straight off the bat. Alright? If you just give it a go and stick to it, I guarantee that you'll build healthier habits and a healthier relationship with food, and the skills that you learn you can take with you long term, whether or not you're consistently tracking your calories week to week. Some of you might find you enjoy it, like I do myself. Okay, some of you guys might hate it and do away with it, but it's the skills you learn which are the most important tool going forward. On that note though, the breakdown rate and the synthetic rate, okay, your calorie maintenance, surplus and deficit, they're always relevant. Okay, there's no point where they stop being relevant. So ideally for the rest of your life you'd be keeping an eye on what you eat, but not feeling like you're depriving yourself consistently. That's why a healthy, balanced approach to nutrition is always the way. Another super common question we get is, it's been 2 weeks, I've been dieting hard, the scales aren't moving, I'm frustrated, or alternatively, how long is it going to take to see the results that I want to see? I have a typical time course in front of you guys, okay? So the first week is almost always water loss. Don't get too excited off the bat and don't assume it's going to continue at that rate the whole time. Within a month, in the mirror, you might notice some small changes, okay? But within 3 months, significant changes will start to occur, okay? 5 to 10% weight loss can be sustainable in that time if you're on point, okay, and not slipping up consistently. You can't diet long stretches without breaks anyway, okay? So what we do is set timeline goals, okay? Get there, get as close as we can, and reassess every time. Alrighty, another common question, guys. Can I lose body fat and increase muscle mass at the same time? This is a complicated answer, okay? Without going too in depth, there are generally 2 types of people that can do that. People that are starting from a long way back, okay, people that have a lot of body fat, they can often afford to go into a calorie deficit, and if they keep eating their protein and maintain, a structured gym program, the science does seem to lean towards that they can preserve their muscle mass, if not increase muscle mass, while losing weight. The other group of people that react pretty well to that is complete novices. So if it's your first day in the door, congratulations, you're going to get the beginner gains that we all miss so much. And as well as that, you guys are pretty successful in terms of cutting down your body fat percentage and growing muscle at the same time. For people that have trained for a long time or are experienced lifters, it's a lot harder, but more importantly, it's a lot more inefficient to try and lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time. You're much better off having dedicated phases, almost like a cutting phase, where your focus is perhaps a calorie deficit, get some of that body fat percentage down, and then jump back into perhaps a more intense training program in which you go into calorie surplus and focus on muscle mass there. Alright guys, another common, super simple question we get all the time from clients is, what are some examples of a high protein, low calorie snack that I can have when I'm on the go? It's not going to break the bank. Okay, I've come up with 5 for you guys. Cottage cheese, it's cheap, okay, it's low calorie and high protein. Beef jerky, cheap, low calorie, high protein. Canned tuna, same thing. From there, we've got beans, okay, especially if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. Mixing different types of beans is a quick snack, it's super cheap, and beans have a good protein content. And 5th and finally is the iffy one, it's a supplement, okay? Whether that's a protein shake or something of the sort, that's sort of a last resort, but if they're used correctly, they can be a handy tool in keeping your protein up and not overdoing calories. Another question a lot of you asked was about meal prep ideas. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and give you guys recipes, because if this video hasn't put you to sleep up until now, that definitely will. What I will say is that I have a massive bank of them, okay? Get in touch with me via email and I'm happy to send you all of my secret recipes. But I can't emphasize enough the importance of planning ahead and actually having a plan for the whole week and not trying to survive day to day, because it's almost impossible to hit macronutrient goals on a day-to-day basis without a plan. Another super common question, how do I meal prep? Okay, I've got 3 tips for you guys. Tip number 1, plan ahead. It's almost impossible to hit macronutrient and nutritional targets on a day-to-day basis if you're just winging it, okay? Trust me, I've tried many, many years. So having a plan, okay, I'm going to get X amount of protein in this many meals, Monday through Friday, works every time, okay? Tip number 2 is cook in bulk. So that follows off tip number 1. If you've planned your week ahead, you cook everything in bulk, it takes a lot of the perceived pressure of cooking every night out of you. If you're like me and don't mind eating the same thing every day, okay, I'll cook something like a high protein burrito bowl, eat it for dinner 7 nights in a row. If you like a bit more variety, well, then the planning stage might take a little bit longer. It's definitely not as hard as you think. Tip number 3 is contact me. Alrighty guys, to wrap this up, thank you very much for watching my video. As I said before, I'm not a dietitian, but I do absolutely love researching and talking about this stuff. If you approach me at one of the gyms or flick me an email, I'd be happy to shoot your ear off. We can set up a little plan going forward so you can get control of your eating back, and that's what it's all about, okay? It's not as daunting as it seems, and the people that have come before have had very, very good results. I look forward to hearing from you guys.